Well, the Indigenous people of the contested territory of West Papua have been seeking independence from Indonesia for decades. Now, the nation is on the verge of another bloody crackdown, executed by Indonesia's elite security forces, and definitely a story that we're following here. Cammi Webb joins us now from the University of Wollongong. Cammi, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me, Holly.
Now, we know that West Papua appears to be on the verge of a violent crackdown. What do we know about the situation?
Well, the most recent events have come out of what the West Papuan independence fighters would call a recent victory. The majority of the independence movement in West Papua, the people in the independence movement, are committed to achieving peace with justice or independence in West Papua through non-violent means. But there is a contingent of the independence movement, the guerrilla army known as the TPN-PB, and they do try and fight for independence using weapons, using violence. And so the TPN-PB is incredibly small and not very powerful in comparison to the Indonesian military. However, they do have tactical advantages in that they know the terrain very well, and they are able to access security and safety with local people in a way that the Indonesian military isn't able to in the highlands, in the very rugged kind of country. And so about 2 weeks ago, probably going on 3 weeks ago now, the independence fighters, the TPN-PB, were able to do a surprise attack and kill Brigadier General Gusti Putu Dani Karya Nugraha. And he was the head of the Indonesian intelligence in Papua. That was on April 25th. And so this is kind of their biggest scalp, so to speak, that the independence movement and the independence fighters have ever, the biggest kill they've ever been able to do. And the act was claimed by the members of the Liberation Army as a victory. This infuriated Indonesia, and it prompted the response from the chairman of the People's Consultative Assembly to the Indonesian military, Bambang Susatyo, that he said, destroy them first, meaning independence seekers in West Papua. We will discuss human rights matters later. And the problem with this is that, as I stated previously, the majority of people in West Papua are seeking independence via peaceful means, and it's only a very small number who pursue this through violence. And so when the military is then, kind of unleashed to not worry about human rights, but basically to treat all West Papuan, Indigenous West Papuans who want independence, and that is the majority of West Papuans, when they've been told go ahead and eliminate this resistance, it means that they're targeting civilians, and that is incredibly dangerous, incredibly scary.
I mean, it's just devastating news that we're hearing. What's the answer here? I mean, it's been going on for decades, this conflict. What is the answer here?
Well, I think the answer is for the Indonesian government to listen to the West Papuan people. Papuans have been asking for dialogue with Indonesian leaders for decades. They want to sit down and they want to discuss what is at the heart of the conflict. And for West Papuan people, the heart of the conflict is political. It's the fact that they, when the Dutch had colonized West Papua, they had also administered the Dutch East Indies, which was to become Indonesia separately. When Indonesia gained its independence, it wanted to take West Papua with it because they had both had the Dutch as a colonizer. Therefore, Indonesia thought it would make sense for West Papua to go along with Indonesia. Papuans wanted independence. The Dutch had actually prepared them for separate nation statehood. Indonesia wasn't going to let this happen, so it militarily occupied West Papua in 1962, and since then has had a very bloody regime and have been accused of committing genocide within West Papua, essentially. They're not prepared to let go of West Papua for various reasons. The primary reason is that West Papua contains the largest gold mine in the world, largest gold and copper mine. And although it's a US-owned mine, the mine pays huge taxes to the Indonesian government. and so the Indonesian government's loath to let go of it. Now, Papuans want political independence. They say we cannot stay within the Indonesian state and hope to survive as a people because of the indiscriminate killings, because of the land desecration, cultural destruction, rape, torture, and the list goes on. And so what successive Indonesian governments have tried to do is say, well, let's look at solving some of these problems using a development approach. That's the approach that Jokowi, the current Indonesian leader, is trying to establish within Papua, and it's simply not working. He's trying to build a highway across West Papua, the Trans-Papuan Highway, in the hopes that this would open up West Papua and to more economic opportunities and to try and solve some of the poverty in Papua. And Papuans are saying economics is not, are not kind of the baseline, are not the core or the crux of the problem. It's politics. Let's discuss the politics. We want our human dignity. We want our self-determination. We want to to be able to decide where we want to go as a people.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's such a horrible, horrible situation. But how can you just describe what the world's reaction to this has been? I mean, particularly close regional neighbours like Australia and China, they responded to the ongoing crisis. But is there support here? Is there something that other countries could be doing to step in to help resolve this issue?
I think it's certainly a matter for other countries to take on board and to put significantly stronger pressure on Indonesia to address the problem in West Papua. So Australia is spooked after East Timor, after it got involved in the East Timor conflict, when East Timorese voted for independence. That severely strained the Indonesian and Australian diplomatic relationship. Indonesia no longer trusts Australia, and Australia is eager to kind of not rock the boat, so to speak, and Australia does not want to get involved. So when West Papuans and advocates for justice and human rights within Australia try to lobby our government to get involved, the government goes, we are speaking to politicians within Jakarta, and they assure us that they're working on the human rights situation there. Something stronger needs to be done. Australia needs to stop training Indonesian military forces until they can prove that they do worry about human rights, and Australia needs to pressure the Indonesian government to get the military out of West Papua. Vanuatu is the country that has always had West Papua's back. It's the country whose government has said, we do not consider ourselves truly free, truly independent until the rest of Melanesia has been decolonized, and that includes West Papua. And so they've been prepared. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, no, I was just agreeing with everything that you're saying. I think it's definitely we definitely need to step in here and potentially do something. I feel it just feels so inhumane what we're seeing unfold there. And I mean, even that comment to say that we'll worry about human rights later, even that in itself just makes me feel sick. We do have to wrap things up, Cammi. I wish we could keep speaking about this, but I know you've written a book. Quickly, where can we find your book? Where can people get their hands on it?
Well, it's available to order from the University of Hawaii Press website, also through Amazon. And I think that it will be available from June 30th, which is the official publication date. So you can visit the website of the University of Hawaii Press right now, look on Amazon and put in a pre-order. And in that I talk about in the book I talk about the increasing relevance and traction that the independence movement is gaining, and how it's doing so by making alignments with Indigenous and Black Lives Matter, Black rights movements throughout the world, and doing so through in identity politics as well as artistic means.
Great. Cammi, thank you so much for giving us insight on this important issue. We'll speak with you again soon.
Okay, thanks for having me.